Hello, we'll be going over Matthew 11 for the Heōs, verse 12 and 13. So Heōs is right here and right here. G 2193. And for context, verse 11, Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. So all the prophets before John the Baptist were lesser, and John the Baptist was greater. And then those that are least in heaven are greater than John the Baptist. Now, the word until is not used in verse 11. It's just for context for 12 and 13. Verse 12, And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Now, that's not a negative violence in a sense. It is somewhat, but not like a physical violence. They are passionate about seeking, following the law, making sacrifices to gain their acceptance into the kingdom of heaven. But until now, Jesus has come. So that is no longer needed, and it won't be needed once he sacrifices himself on the cross and resurrects 3 days later and then ascends, and then all you have to do is trust in him. And then that's where we go into verse 13. For all the prophets and the law prophesies until John. Because John was the transitional figure. He was coming, he was the messenger sent by Jesus before Jesus. In verse 10, For this is he of whom is written, Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. That's why verse 13 is until John. For all the prophets and law prophesied until John, heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. And John is still in that transitional period, so in verse 12 when it says, From the days of John the Baptist until now, when Jesus is speaking. So John was doing it before this, when Jesus spoke it, then also after. So until this point, for all the prophets and the law prophesied until John at this point, in verse 12, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Now that will no longer be needed, and that is the change of standard.